Monday night, Christmas night, got a crazy we didn't get a crazy comeback because the 49ers, but we did get a crazy comeback stat. The 49ers have never come back under Kyle Shanahan from 8+ points, 8 or more points. It was a little
fourth quarter.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter. It seems a little cherry picky to me.
Yeah.
And it's tough to come back.
How many times have they been down 8 in the fourth quarter is what I want to know.
397,000. I think, what is it? 0-38? I think they're 0-38 or 0-39.
0-38.
But hold on. That's enough. That's enough to have some sort of sample size saying, okay, what's the disconnect? That's only one score.
Yeah, but this is my thing. If you look at it in totality, I think only the Chiefs have a decent number in regards to percentage as far as coming back 8+.
They're 0-38.
Yeah, but everybody else is, I think percentages is like 10, 11%. It's like
17%.
It is. They're over.
I'll put it this way.
It's telling.
Here's what's telling is it's crazy that they're 0-38 considering his offensive acumen.
Correct.
Like, he's widely viewed as maybe the best offensive mind in the NFL.
True.
And if that's the case, I think it shows you a little bit when they can't run the football. And maybe this is a byproduct of what the quarterback position has been since he's been there.
Yeah.
But clearly they're not going to be able to run the same offense. And if that's the case, yeah, you're going to struggle as any offense. But it's just crazy that even more so considering how good he's been when you are in that situation. That's what stands out at least.
Do you think it kind of makes them like front runners in regards to – that's a telling stat, like you said, for them to be over. Like,
Will wants to
I'm not going to say they're front runners, but it's just like you can't come back in one game where you're down by 8 points in the fourth quarter. Like, that's a struggle.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you might luck yourself into that. You get like a fumble return for a touchdown. You find your way.
But that's the thing. And this is what I try to tell people. When you look at that stat, right, and you know this, Brady, sometimes when you're down by 8 or 10 in the fourth quarter, you need some luck to happen to be able to come back, right? It's about executing at a high level. And then you got to hope that team makes mistakes, right? Because if they don't make mistakes, no matter what you're doing on offense, you're not going to be able to come back. So, like, you need some luck in those scenarios. Perfect example, last year, the Browns and Jets game. Like, there was no reason the Jets were supposed to win that game, but they get a busted coverage, you get a 75-yard touchdown, then they get an onside kick, right? And then they score with like 13 seconds left. So you need a little bit of luck when you're in those scenarios.
What is that stat? Like, of course, you throw 5 interceptions in a game. Of course, you're going to have the worst turnover differential in 1 week, like a 1 week sample size.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do think it's kind of interesting that the idea, I mean, I'm not saying that this is true, just that when you combine Brock Purdy with the way that Kyle Shanahan calls plays, is it possible that it is a front-running offense that, and just because of like what the offense is built to have these, these zone running plays, right? Zone blocking run plays, and then you build the play action, and the play action always looks similar to what any good play action looks similar to a regular run play, but that's like really the basis of the offense. So does it? Having to just do straight dropbacks all the time and not being able to run and then build off of the play action, do you think the inability to do that is sort of the Achilles heel of that Kyle Shanahan offense?
I don't know if it's an Achilles heel. I mean, some of it can be personnel related, right? Like, who would we say their best personnel grouping is? Probably their base personnel.
Yeah,
when you have Kittle and Juszczyk and McCaffrey, obviously, then Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, right? Like,
they go 3 wide.
Like, are they better? Like, when they add a piece and take off Juszczyk or you know what I'm saying? I mean, I think that's the hard part is their base personnel is probably the most talented group.
Correct.
And in those situations, that's not what you're utilizing. You're utilizing 3 wide receiver sets.
Yeah.
So Juszczyk's coming off. You got Kittle staying on, but you might need to use them for help in pass protection depending on the looks and the pressure and who's at defensive end you're going against. So that's the hard part is like, you take away, in essence, in that scenario, either you're obviously your best tight end is one of your best players, one of your best players catching the football, blocking all that, and Juszczyk. And by the way, maybe Christian McCaffrey, because now all of a sudden, if I only have a tight end and running back on the field, I need a 7-man protection because of a blitz look, a pressure, or maybe we need a chunk and I need more time and our offensive line's struggling. Now McCaffrey's out of it as part of that too, and he's in protection. So now I've got Deebo Samuel and Ayuk, but who's the number 3? Is it Juwan Jennings or who do you feel really good about?
Yeah.
There's some rosters you look at when they go 3 deep, like for example, when the Bengals are healthy.
Correct.
Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. My God, like
that's their base offense.
Yeah, that's what you're throwing out there when you get out in your openers, right? Like that's first quarter to fourth quarter. That's not the case for the 49ers. So it's not a flaw. I just think when you look at the roster components, how they're set up, it takes them out of what their best personnel grouping is, and some of conceptually what they do best.
Yeah, and if you look at their offense, right?
Well, I was going to ask too, like, as like from a like when you're as a defender, like if you're watching these guys, because when you're trailing by double-digit points, you're not going to be running as much, and so you're not like some of George Kittle's stuff is like he like fakes run, but like he goes to fake the run block and then releases and takes off on the play action. Is that something that like you can kind of pick up on tells as well?
I mean, if we're in the fourth quarter and you're down by double digits, we're not respecting the run. We're not respecting your play action pass. We're pinning our ears back and getting to the quarterback. And to Brady's point, right, I think it also shows some deficiencies in this offense. I know we talk about Kyle Shanahan and him schematically and how he sets things up, but they have a real issue at offensive line, right? If Trenton Williams goes down like he did last week, we saw the issue. And even when he's playing, right, if you look at the right side, McKivitz, he's struggled. They've struggled in the interior three as well, and that's because they haven't been able to allot a lot of money to the offensive line because they're playing so many people on the outside with Kittle and Deebo Samuel. They're going to have to pay Brandon Ayuk. Christian McCaffrey's making a lot of money. Trent Williams is one of the highest paid offensive tackles. And then you look at the defensive side, everybody is paid on that side. So when you look at them and you talk about, well, is it, you calling them front runners? No, they're just not set up to play from behind like that because, one, they can't just seven-step drop back because they don't have the offensive line to do it, especially if they don't keep George Kittle in to help with that right side of the offensive line.
And that really wasn't Brock Purdy's experience too at Iowa State. I mean, they were more of a two tight end set, type team when he was playing there. So I don't know that his, calling card is
Campbell, by the way,
spread it out and throw it around. So
Matt Campbell, remember when he was a hot NFL name?
Still a good college coach.
Yeah, he's still a good program builder. Yeah.
I'm just saying who's like getting thrown out as like the guy who's going to get hired by every NFL team every offseason. No, not so much.
There's always two coaches for college.
I don't remember hearing that in NFL standards. I do remember hearing it more in college, and I think there's still some people who believe that, and especially.
Sorry, I don't want to derail and talk about Matt Campbell. Go back to the 49ers.
You brought it up. I mean,
this is what we do on this show.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just. Do you think that I'm going to put my Pete Prisco bald cap on real quick? Is there a chance?
His voice, though.
Is there a chance that Kyle Shanahan is a choker?
No.
Yeah, he does. He does have a history in the playoffs of not exactly closing.
I'll say this.
I'll go to the NFC Championship game every year and be a choker.
No, but like in all seriousness, like you look at the skill sets of the quarterbacks he's had since he's been there.
Yeah.
Like they're not that different, right?
They're not.
I mean, like for example, you look at the athleticism and ability of like a Lamar Jackson. You're like, holy cow! Like when we're talking about like MVP conversation, you're like, well, that dude looks like the MVP. And granted, I understand Brock Purdy had a bad game, but there's also a portion of it where you're like, well, he can't do what Lamar can do. Like if nothing's there, Lamar can still beat you. He can still force a defense to slow down their rush. You're not getting that from Brock Purdy. And even when Sam Darnold came in, and this isn't just my opinion, like Daniel Jeremiah mentioned this, like you see the arm strength, the velocity, and you're like, man, there's a different level of ability to just on your own roster in Sam Darnold's arm versus Brock Purdy's. So
I would say athletic ability too. I think Sam's probably a little bit better athletically than
maybe.
Purdy.
So all I'm saying is like, it's hard because I think he's had a very similar quarterback in the sense of guys who are, able to play from the pocket, good distributors of the football, good decision makers, can move within the pocket, but they're not threatening a defense in any fashion, really running the football. And I'd be curious to see, like, what would a Lamar Jackson look like in a Shannon? We saw with RG3 for like 1 year in Washington. He wins Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Numbers up.
So we know he can do it, but it's like he hasn't had that in San Fran.
Well, remember, that was a rumor a while ago before they took Trey Lance. Could they potentially trade for Lamar Jackson? I think that's what Kyle was thinking when he drafted Trey Lance. Like, let's see if I can get an athletic quarterback that can still process and read the defense. And we knew Trey Lance was going to take him a while to do that because he didn't play a lot in college. But with his athletic ability, that's a +1. I've never had that at quarterback. So I think that's what he was thinking. But then, Brock Purdy came along and processed really well, got the ball in his hands. And that's what Kyle is used to, right? So he was like, well, I got to go with this guy because this is what I'm accustomed to. I can't throw Trey Lance out there and wait 2 or 3 years for him to really develop.
Right.